And Archer has the names of who they have requested to speak with to replace Matt Eberflus. Leading the way, Denver assistant Jim Leonard, also Minnesota pass game coordinator Durante Jones, and then Browns safety coach Ephraim Banda.
Ephraim Banda.
So these are the names. They were denied by Atlanta to talk with Jeff Ulbrich for the DC spot. And RJ Choppy, you are judging this hire by lack of motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm looking for here.
Limit yourself.
It's not really a prereq because I'm not going to eliminate this just a preference. Just a preference. But I would prefer that they get somebody who has, they would take the job if offered to them, but isn't looking at this as a stepping stone to become a head coach.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying, for example, when Wade Phillips went to Denver, he knew he was done as a head coach.
Yep.
He was there.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to do this again next year.
I get it.
If Jim Leonard comes in here, and I actually do like Jim Leonard. I think Jim Leonard would be a really good DC, and I kind of want him. But I know what's going to happen. If he comes in here and they get to 15th, Jim Leonard's a head coach next year.
I do think that there's such a clear and obvious affinity that they have in Cowboys brass for him that if he got this job, I think it would be a little bit like you just wait.
Wait it
if
out.
you wait around, whenever that day may come, you can go, but just know you've got Dallas Cowboys head coach job waiting for you here whenever the Schottenheimer time ends.
I think obviously Brian Flores wants to be a head coach again.
Yeah,
I mean that's what kept Dan Quinn here for 3 years. Dan Quinn hung around just in case.
Yeah, but I'm not betting on that. If more openings come forward, I'm not saying, all right, Schottenheimer just finished his second year, I'll wait for him to get blown out. Odds would tell me, more often than not, I'm leaving to take the sure thing. I'm not sticking around for that.
Right, absolutely. I think Raheem Morris.
And most guys are not going to stick around for that.
People have in Dallas, though. Like that has happened here. Kellen turned down a job. Dan Quinn turned down a job. Jason Garrett turned down a job, all because they wanted to see if the head coaching job was
all right. I'll make a futures bet with you.
Mm-hmm.
If the Dallas Cowboys defense finishes 15th or better, I need to actually cover myself. Make it 10th or better in the next 2 years. Jim Leonard will not be here.
If they hire him.
If they hire him. If they hire him and they finish 10th or better in the next 2 years, he will not be here.
Right, because if they finish 10th or better, the way, and let's assume they signed Pickens long-term and CD's still here and Dak stays healthy and is still at the top of his game, if they're 10th defense in the league, they're going to make they've been there.
With the offense, yeah. That's how I'm covering myself, too.
Right. With the offense.
You'll be a really good play. You'll be an 11 or 12-win team, so Shotty's not going anywhere.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
But, Raheem Morris.
I understand what you're saying, Bobby, and it has happened. I'm just saying what happened with Dan Quinn to me was extremely, extremely rare and unique.
No, and I get it. I would just say that, again, I know Kellen similarly stuck around and Garrett stuck around. So the coaches do have a history of saying, this is such a rare job. The head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, no matter how bad people think they are, and when we're here in Dallas, it's like when you were looking at Twitter the other day and you saw all those people just talking about Harbaugh. Harbaugh had nothing to do, and it's you're too close to it. You're too jaded at this point. Cowboys fans are a little too close to it to understand, there is still power behind being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, behind being the manager of the New York Yankees. Those are still jobs that are they mean something, no matter how bad or down those programs are. And that, Sean Payton, Brian's quoted Sean Payton on this all the time. The reason Sean Payton said he always wanted this job was Sean Payton stuck around an extra year to try and get this job. The reason Sean Payton wanted it was because he said,
I know you in China.
He said everybody knows, everybody who follows football in America knows my name as the head coach of the Saints.
Yeah.
He goes, they know your name in China when you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
So who else applies here?
I think Raheem Morris applies. I think Raheem knows that he's done. He's not getting another head coaching job.
Ooh. He's interviewing.
You don't usually get 3.
I agree. I agree, but he's being interviewed pretty fast.
He is.
I think at least by Tennessee.
Right, yeah. The Tennessee doesn't count. That's not a real.
God, I forgot he was in Tampa. I was in there going if I was interim in Atlanta, but I forgot he was in Tampa years ago.
Ulbrich, I don't think anybody views Ulbrich as a head coach.
Right.
So I'd be fine with him.
Yeah. Jim Schwartz.
Same thing, right?
Kind of done.
I'd be fine with
you want a Leslie Frazier category.
Right. I want somebody who's...
The Wade category, Spagnuolo.
I want somebody who's been Peter principled. They got to a point where it was too big of a job for their skill set. That's the head coach. They've been knocked back down to where they belong, and they understand where they belong.
What about Gannon?
He can't. I mean, he couldn't motivate grass to grow.
Man, that clip. That's a bad clip of him in there saying, "Who took the bus?" or like, "Who drove here?" Raise your hands.
What does that even mean?
Did you see the fireworks clip of him talking to? I don't know who's. I think he was talking to Rondell Moore. And it was so awkward. He goes, "Hey, what's up?" It's like him getting introduced. He's walking around the building, and he goes, "Man, you." And he goes, "Poof, poof, poof." And then Rondell Moore looks and goes, "I don't know what that means." And he goes, "Explosive. You're explosive." It's like, it's a little awkward, but it's funny because his reputation before the Arizona job was like rah players guy that everybody loved, and apparently Kyler Murray really liked him even at the end, and there were a lot of Cardinals players who liked him. So I wonder if it's just he might be a little cringy, but players still are like, yeah, but he's authentic, like we like him. I wonder if that's one of his appeals right there.
Okay, so with that being said, this is always the biggest test for RJ Choppy, putting what he just said to the ultimate test.
Yeah,
it's Jim Leonard and
I think Raheem.
So you would, between those, you want Raheem?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Leonard's gonna be a really, really good coach. I think
you just think it might not be for long.
I think it might not be long. I think if you get Raheem Morris here, Raheem Morris could be the DC here for a few years. I think Jim Leonard would be the DC here until he has a chance to be the HC somewhere else. You want to talk? People are throwing up on the text like a Rex Ryan, a Matt Patricia. You know, like I think Patricia probably understands that he's not getting a head coaching job.
Yeah,
I think Patricia's just a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know that it would work. Rex.
Look, we need to retire this.
They're not doing Rex. Although
Rex is not coaching again.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, he would take it.
Yeah,
he would take it. But I don't think I think he knows he's done as a head coach.
All right, Bobby, you have a separate list of people to avoid?
Yeah, so this was over at Blogging the Boys, which I like this angle of it, looking at it, because we all talk about the guys that, we want to go after this, we want to go after this. When a name comes up, maybe some people swat it down, but David Howman over at Blogging the Boys decided to look at 5 defensive coordinator candidates the Cowboys need to avoid at all costs. And some of these might be a little surprising to people, because I think some of these have been lobbied for by the fan base. Number 1, first name, Jonathan Gannon. Says the Cowboys love a former head coach, a defensive coordinator. You got to go back to 2012 with Rob Ryan, the last time they didn't have a defensive coordinator with head coaching experience. But he points to all the struggles that Arizona had. In fact, I think there was some note about teams with I can't remember what it is. Something like at the end, Gannon had lost 18 straight games of like the road against certain opponents or whatever, except Dallas was 2 of them or something like that. Like Dallas were the only 2 teams he had beaten. But the Eagles, he said that even when Gannon got fired, the Eagles, their biggest struggle was defense that year. And that, he's kind of earned this reputation that doesn't seem to totally fit what he's done on the field. The next name, Joe Witt Jr., who a lot of people were kind of naturally thrown out. But it says, back when Dan Quinn first departed for the Commanders, there's a belief the Cowboys viewed pass game coordinator Joe Witt Jr. as the heir apparent. After all, he had been a close confidant of Quinn's in Atlanta before Dallas, and even called some preseason games, usually an indicator of being groomed for the role. But Dallas pivoted to Mike Zimmer. He said it's easy to make the argument for Witt's candidacy, but the last 2 years have irreparably damaged Witt's stock. I will also say this organization was not as high on Joe Witt as Dan Quinn or fans were. Next one. This is the one that'll burn some people. Al Harris.
Ooh.
He goes, easily the most popular position coach the Cowboys have had in some time. Al Harris quickly gained a sterling reputation for his work with the Cowboys corners. When McCarthy opted to leave Dallas this past offseason, Harris found a new home. He's the defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator for the Bears. The reasons to avoid Harris are twofold, though. For starters, Harris is more of a technician than a tactician by his own admission. And then he says the others, the more concerning factor is the perception that some in the building had of Harris and the way he treated Diggs and Bland. According to the Cowboys' own Brad Sham, there was a sense that Harris babied his players and didn't push them enough.
So here's my follow-up to what Brad said, and I know Brad is up and active right now because he was responding to my college football pass interference question, saying they'd have to bring out a tire iron in order to call that at the end of the Miami game last night. Could I make the argument that Al Harris did what needed to be done to get the best out of Diggs? I understand babying. I'm just asking the question. I understand babying and setting up bad habits, but you obviously treat everyone differently and the same. You know, if Diggs was still here and you're interviewing people and Al Harris is like, this is how I'm going to get the best out of him, this is how I'm going to treat him, and Deron Bland, whatever his relationship with Bland was, like, you did get the best out of the player.
Bland, he definitely...
in a better physical status.
Bland, I think he definitely gets a lot of credit from people for helping Bland come along. Diggs, I think there is a sense that, like, maybe harmed Diggs once he got into the rehab portion. So it's like, yeah, when things were healthy and fine, he was fine. But as soon as he got into the rehab, babied him. And I think it's just more the idea of applying that to an entire defense, being in charge of an entire defense and applying that mindset to guys. I don't think they want that.
Isn't there a hard assness to Al Harris?
A little, yeah, there is, but it's like kind of it's the same way he was when he was a player, which it's outwardly focused in a lot of instances. It's more like, yeah, F them. And so it's a little bit more coddled at times. McCarthy would get like that. McCarthy was very F them to the exterior and kind of coddled and like, hey, this is just us. We're family in here.
You know, everyone brings up Nashawn Wright, and I like to remind them, Al did have Nashawn Wright here, correct? And Nashawn was a bust here. And then just another example of how fit matters. You know where Nashawn Wright, I forgot this till I heard Clarence Hill bring it up. You know where Nashawn Wright was before balling out this year with Chicago?
Minnesota.
Who was that, DC?
It was Brian Flores.
So you could easily be like, Brian Flores couldn't get anything out of Nashawn Wright. Like, I totally forgot about the Vikings stop in between.
Yep.
So
maybe that's why they're interviewing Durante Jones. They're being like, "What did you guys do wrong?
Right.
Why weren't you able to get this out of him?"
Yep.
2 more candidates to avoid, according to Blogging the Boys. The next one, don't agree with this one, but I at least respect that you're trying to look at different angles. Jeff Ulbrich. I think Jeff Ulbrich would be really good. Cowboys were clearly interested in him and reached out, tried to get an interview set up with Atlanta. It was reported by Todd Archer that the Falcons declined that. But he says of all the names on this list, Jeff Ulbrich is easily the least objectionable name that he has listed. But he does point out that essentially he thinks that a little bit of overrated impact on the Jets when he stepped in as the interim head coach didn't go great. Statistically speaking, he said Ulbrich has only had one truly good year as a coordinator, and his teams have never reached the playoffs. And then the final name, Matt Patricia, the Ohio State defensive coordinator, the former Detroit Lions head coach, the former New England Patriots offensive coordinator for some reason.
That's very strange.
But just talked about, obviously, a lot of the same things that we look at with Patricia, of being a coarse personality, somebody who had some difficulties, and also that if you look at his track record, his defenses were never like at the top of the league. Patricia did not have like number 1 ranked defenses like he was Wade Phillips or anything else like that. But those are the 5 from Blogging the Boys that they think the Cowboys should avoid at coordinator.
Jordan Schultz, NFL Insider, was on G-Bag yesterday, and he gave them some names to look out for this job.
You're asking for names, and I don't want to contradict myself, but there has been some smoke around, Brian Flores in Dallas, but that is a former head coach. I reported earlier today he's going to interview in Baltimore, and he might get others. If you're looking for a name that I haven't really seen a lot, but to me is probably like one of these under-the-radar up-and-comers, it's Jim Leonhard from Denver. There's been a lot of really good buzz around him quietly, but he comes from Vance Joseph Tree, who's interviewing pretty much everywhere. And the defense, obviously, is pretty much top 3 across the board in every metric. He's never, to my knowledge, called plays, but, he's played. He's been very well respected. He's risen up. To me, that's the type of person you'd want to bring in because he doesn't have, he's not a retread, and he has aspirations to grow in the business. And I think him and Shotty could get along quite well. They were together with the Jets.
Completely unrelated. You know who I think is like a nice under the radar like MVP candidate is Drake May.
I knew you were going to do this. It's like Maggie and Perloff.
This is
no
like,
one's talking about.
No one's really mentioned him. I know you guys probably haven't heard of it. Literally,
has he been
the
mentioned
only person
nationally?
I mean, Archer's been putting him in national articles with Schefter.
Yeah.
He's been mentioned. And I mean, like, here in Dallas, he's gotten... That has been the name that's been thrown out. When we brought him up a month ago, and we talked about him off the air 2 years ago while we were at Super Bowl. Yeah. So, no, like, that's kind of the guy. So, I mean, that's an interesting definition of under the radar.
I'm going to empty out my end-of-year press conference notebook that I had before we get to the junk drawer here on Shan and RJ, commercial-free in the Expressway 105.3 The Fan. The Cowboys pluses that they have right now, according to the trio up there at the podium. Brian Schottenheimer, Dak playing at his best ever. And he attributed a lot of that to Schotty's plan for Prescott to keep him out of harm's way. And he said, we need to do better replacing coaches. I thought probably the most educational part of the presser was Schotty talking about what they want in the next DC. A lot of teaching, a lot of communicating. Take the complicated info and make it simple to understand. Same message in different ways. And he said, we want flexibility. That's what caused us problems. We are salesmen. So we need to be able to sell what we're talking about. More Michael Irvin comparisons with George Pickens and his love of the game. Jerry Jones, I mean, you put George Pickens' love of the game in the same sentence as Michael Irvin, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then he was asked about his approach to David Mulugeta, and this is also a subject that gets Jerry very butthurt. Jerry, in his own way, I think is still trying to be like, who? I think he's just trying to be a little bit more respectful with the, who are you talking about? Because he said, I don't think about it. I don't think about my approach with the agent, and I do not agree with the
character. He doesn't talk to the agent.
I don't agree with the characterizations of the Micah deal. He got testy again, and he just wants it to boil down to he wants us to forget not knowing the agent's name and who called who and who didn't respond and who ignored who. Jerry just wants us to think of the Micah deal as we agreed to $40 million. $40 million was our limit. They wanted more. End of negotiation. That ended everything, not all the disrespect. So he doesn't like entrapment,
right?
Illegal contact, NFLPA getting involved. He doesn't like any of that side stuff.
No, he views it as like you said, he made the deal. It was agreed upon. He talked, and then he doesn't like that things went the other way. That they went south. That's just he's not going to change. He's going to do the same thing again this year.
It's like when we asked him that in one of the last interviews. Like, you going to talk to Pickens or are you going to talk to the agent? He goes, I don't know. He's like, probably both, but I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet.
Yeah.
He knows, but he's just like, all right, cool. Let's push this a little bit.
And then Schotty said we have some serious defensive building blocks. We made quantum leaps in character.
Scott Bakula.
With Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, Stephen Jones on other needs. He said complementary talent was a problem. Choppy's always talking about depth, and that in part led to Russell Wilson throwing for 450 on you with a torn hamstring. See Russ come out with that?
Yeah.
I hit it from the Giants. I don't know how much he's... I think he went to some Dallas facility afterwards to get treatment on it, but he did that to us with a damn torn hamstring.
I still like, though, that it's like, peripheral talent, depth. It's like, your starting talent was really bad, too, on defense. Like, you had some bad starters. That also is what killed you more than the depth at times.
Well, he said linebacker and safety. Some people are theorizing he didn't bring up pass rush because Jerry doesn't want to admit that dealing Micah was a mistake. So they didn't bring up edge rush and pass rush. Maybe they're counting on Clowney and Ezraku.
One of the things we'll talk about over the offseason, I'm sure, is just like the way that you have to structure and the things that you have to like devote your resources to. I'm going to be fascinated to see, as a win now team, do they look at edge rusher as something they can't afford to get in the draft? Because edge rushers typically don't pop first year. It takes a little time.
As your head's about to find out.
I wonder if they're going to go instead and just say, hey, re-sign Clowney and then go find 2 free agents. And then Like, we think we can get a linebacker impact player in the draft because that learning curve's less right out of the gate.